Welcome to the Playground Talks podcast, a podcast for busy parents who want to own their parenting style and develop a stronger sense of how to handle challenging situations. I am Tamia Friat, your host and a mother of three. In this podcast, I will interview psychologists, practitioners, behavioral therapists, teachers, and other experts about topics that bother all of us as parents, so you can get both the parenting principles and practical aspects that resonate with you, give you confidence and joy. Hey, I hope your day is going well so far. I jumped in to briefly go over the takeaway from the full episode with Dr. Mortimer. So you kind of can go back and listen to that whenever you feel like you need those kind of reminders. And just before we start, there are studies that linked doing chores in childhood to a greater resilience in adulthood. So you can download for free the list of chores by age to help you support your child's resilience and independency, in addition to listening to all the other strategies. The free download is on the show notes, and now let's dive in. So Dr. Mortimer started by saying that resilience is actually the ability to bounce back quickly from something that was difficult and having those skill sets so you or your child can adapt to the new situations. The skills that related to being resilient are, first of all, being aware to your feelings, to your thought, to your body sensations. The second thing she mentioned was being patient and embrace the moment when things are not going the way we want them to be. The third thing is being committed. And that means that once your child decided to do something, that keep on doing it and not just quit because it's too difficult. The fourth thing we talked about is problem solving, which I think is one of the main takeaway from me from this episode, is that we tend to go into this problem solving mode when the kids has some kind of discomfort. We tend to own their discomfort, and so we want to provide them the solution as soon as possible so this kind of discomfort will go away. And so what Dr. Mortimer actually said is we better coach the child to solve the problem by themselves. And then the fifth thing is asking for help, which means you may want to encourage your child to advocate for himself and approach the people that can help him in a situation or to solve whatever problem he's having. And so the last skill related to being resilient is coping skills, which leads us to discuss how can you actually support your child to build resilience. And we start with saying that first thing is validating your child's feelings, acknowledging that there is some kind of challenge or hard situation. And then once you validate their feeling, then they be able to move on. Dr. Mortimer mentioned this huge takeaway, which is embrace the discomfort. Let it be. Let the child go through that and provide those kind of coping skills so he will feel capable of dealing with whatever life throws at him. So let's be specific. When the kids are smaller, 2 and 3 years old, we can use this distraction strategy, which is just to direct them to do something else. And so they naturally move on. As the kids grow up, we can start to use the grounding technique, which means you tell your child, tell me about 4 things that you can smell. Tell me about 3 things that you can see. Tell me about 2 things that you can touch, or 1 thing that you can hear. So that's the grounding technique. The other thing we talked about is the growth mindset, which simply means that we can accept the fact that we make mistakes and we learn from them. It's always a learning curve. Talking about this, there's a great episode number 2, which called What is the Mistake Club? If you haven't listened to this, I highly recommend to go and listen. It's in the previous season. And so that's actually an episode that talks about the growth mindset. The third coping skills is to model how you handle situation and also practice coping skill when you are regulated. For example, start practicing breathing. And then the other big takeaway from this episode is to start practice the problem-solving approach. And it's recommended to coach your child of how to solve situation rather than give them solutions. And you may do that by asking, so how do you want to handle it? Or how do you think you can solve the problem? So the part is just help your child to come up with the ideas by himself. So again, the strategies we talked about was distraction strategy, grounding technique, growth mindset, modeling, and problem-solving approach. That was basically what we talked about in the episode, and if you didn't listen or if you want to hear more examples and more details around those topics, then go ahead and listen to the whole episode. And I would like to know, did you like this brief episode? If so, please let me know. You can contact me by Instagram. My handle is TemiEfriat, or by email, which is hello@playgroundtalks.com. You can see it on the show notes, so no worry, just go and look at the show notes. In the show note, you can also find the chores by age, free download, and I would love to hear if you find it helpful. We'll talk next week when Dr. Kate will share from her life experience and expertise around resilience. Last thing, smash the share button with friends and families and help them find their parenting tools, and finally treat yourself and your kids with compassion and curiosity. Bye!